What you gonna do?
That sound brought an entire arena to their feet. It brought fans at home entertainment, and it struck fear into the eyes of Vince McMahon. Stone Cold Steve Austin was the toughest SOB on the planet. He was the wrestler who would lead the WWF into the Attitude Era. When you heard the glass shatter, you knew business was about to pick up. Today, we celebrate 316 Day with a look back on how Stone Cold Steve Austin created the most iconic catchphrase in WWE history. Steve Williams was born in Austin, Texas in 1964. He grew up watching Houston wrestling, and at age 7, he knew he wanted to be a professional wrestler. There are so many things that I've forgotten in my career, things I've done, but I'll never ever forget the moment I changed the channel and found professional wrestling. Though he would move to Edna, Texas, and spend his youth playing football, baseball, and running track. After graduating high school in Edna, Stone Cold would go on to attend the University of North Texas on a full scholarship to play football. The University of North Texas was 30 minutes away from Dallas. Dallas was home of the Von Erichs, who had also attended North Texas to play football, and the Fabulous Freebirds. Every Friday and Saturday, they would wrestle at the world-famous Dallas Sportatorium. That's where Steve and his college teammates would spend their Friday nights. Stone Cold then figured out exactly how he would make his dreams a reality. He saw a commercial for the Gentleman Chris Adams Wrestling School, and he attended.
Now, you people know that we cover basic wrestling and psychology techniques.
The problem was, he progressed really slowly, and in his words, he sucked. But he had the look, he had the will and the determination, and he picked up some attitude along the way. He was given his first opportunity by Jerry Jarrett and USWA Wrestling. It would be in Nashville, Tennessee, where he would meet Dutch Mantell, the booker of the territory. Upon meeting Dutch, Steve would introduce himself. But there was a problem. There was already a Steve Williams Wrestling. To avoid confusion, Mantell gave Steve a new name, Steve Austin, citing Austin, Texas, and an old heel wrestler named Killer Buddy Austin. Steve didn't like it, because of Lee Majors and the $6 Million Man. Austin would become a student of the craft, watching every match on every show, gaining experience and getting better. He would then get his biggest shot by turning heel and becoming Stunning Steve Austin, as Jerry Jarrett put him in a feud against his mentor, Gentleman Chris Adams. Through that rivalry, people started to take notice, with Austin winning the 1990 Rookie of the Year for Pro Wrestling Illustrated. WCW would then come a knocking. Stunning Steve Austin would rise quickly through the ranks in WCW, winning the television title from Beautiful Bobby Eaton in just a few weeks after his debut. But along with 2 United States title reigns and 1 more TV title reign, he would hit a ceiling in WCW as a singles competitor. You see, the brass didn't feel that Steve Austin was marketable. Picture that. He was a blue-collar guy, and that's it. He'd win tag team gold with Brian Pillman as a part of the Hollywood Blondes, and later be fired by a young executive named Eric Bischoff after suffering a triceps tear. He'd be contacted by Paul Heyman, formerly Paulie Dangerously of the Dangerous Alliance. Because he couldn't wrestle due to the triceps tear, Heyman would give Austin a platform to talk. He used ECW to develop the character of Stone Cold Steve Austin, cutting promos and talking about his frustrations in WCW. Basically, telling it like it is. Because that's who Steve Williams was. He showed up for work and gave you 100% every time, and WCW didn't recognize that. In his promos, he developed a chip on his shoulder and would use those frustrations along with the platform to get signed by the WWF. The Ringmaster debuted with Ted DiBiase as his mouthpiece. When Vince signed Austin, he said he was impressed with his skills, but not overly impressed with his charisma. It was a step back for Austin, and he thought the character was weak. So he proposed a name change to the Iceman, based on the Hitman in the Chicago Mob. Vince McMahon countered with 3 names based on the character Austin just pitched: Otto Von Ruthless, Ice Dagger, and Fang McFrost. Austin's wife at the time would drop a line on him about drinking his tea before it got stone cold. Steve would shave his head and adapt the moniker of Stone Cold Steve Austin. With his new persona and the loss of Ted DiBiase, who had to leave town because Austin lost the strap match to Savio Vega, Austin would build momentum over the next few months as his stock began to rise, and the King of the Ring would be where his star would take off. Thanks to a small gaffe by Triple H, notoriously known as the Curtain Call, Stone Cold would be next in line for a big push. He would defeat Jake the Snake Roberts and deliver the most iconic catchphrase in wrestling history.
Talk about your Psalms, talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says I just whipped your ass.
Stone Cold Steve Austin was born. The 6-time WWE champion and the undisputed #1 wrestler of all time on everybody's list, Steve Williams, was born on December 18, 1964. But we celebrate Stone Cold Steve Austin on 3/16.